Welcome to Inside Bremerton. This is the City of Bremerton's video newsletter focusing on issues and topics important to its citizens. We are on 6th Street at Tudor Rose's Meeting House. This is an espresso cafe and tea room, and Bev and Ed purchased this place a few years ago and have been rehabbing it. I want to tell you a little bit about this house. This prestigious English Tudor-style house has served as a visible landmark to the downtown Bremerton community. The home was designed and built in 1936 by its owner, J.D. Dorm Bremen. Let's go inside, and joining me today as our special guest is Josh Farley with the Kitsap Sun. It's my final interview for BCAT. Let's go inside. Here we are inside the Tudor Rose house on 6th Street, this beautiful, beautiful home. And as I mentioned, my guest today is Josh Farley. Josh, welcome.
Hello.
Josh and I have been friends for quite a long time now. And if you don't know Josh, Josh is a reporter with the Kitsap Sun, kind of a little guru around this town. When Josh speaks, when Josh calls an event and says, hey, people show up, people show up. They do.
That's the hope anyway.
That is the hope. That has everything to do with your personality and your love of community, your love of people. So I want to compliment you on that. So Josh is my final interview on BCAT, and I'll be retiring at the end of December, and Josh is one of those people that I've really wanted to talk to, so I really appreciate your time, Josh.
Absolutely, Char. Thank you for having me on, and it is an honor to be your last interview on, on what has been an illustrious career, and I think you have done wonderful things at BCAT, and I'm just really pleased to be on with you today.
Thank you so much. So Josh, let's talk about, like your background. Where did you come from? Where'd you grow up?
Okay, so I am originally from a little town of Wilsonville, just south of Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
Yep, grew up there.
What's Wilsonville famous for? What's there?
Good question. When my family moved there, it was pretty much filbert orchards.
Right.
A lot of filbert orchards. And as I grew up, the town grew from about 2,000 people to what it is today. I think it's north of 20,000.
Wow.
So a lot of subdivisions, cul-de-sacs, new schools, people. It has exploded, much like the Puget Sound region, Oregon and Washington.
Do your family still there, Josh?
Absolutely, yep. Well, I'll be going to, in a few weeks, down for Christmas with my parents and my family. I have 2 brothers. And of course, I've got nieces and nephews, 2 sisters-in-law, so I'm really excited to get to spend some time with family for the holidays.
Where'd you go to college?
So I went down to a small college called St. Mary's College of California. It is in the East Bay, if you're familiar with the Bay Area, and it is liberal arts. I went there actually to play tennis. It's a Division I school. And I actually played a ton of tennis growing up.
Really?
We had a tennis place or club that I could play at pretty close to where I was in Wilsonville. And I spent a lot of time on hard courts, 2-3 hours a day. Ended up winning the 3A tennis championship my senior year, and followed that to St. Mary's College.
They gave you a scholarship?
I didn't. I got some academic money, but not for not for tennis. So I got to go there, and the Bay Area is a really amazing, huge place, much bigger than where I grew up. I was gaga-eyed. I love sports. Frankly, I loved the Portland Trailblazers growing up, but man, you go to the Bay Area and you've got the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants and the 49ers and the Raiders and the San Jose Sharks. So it was great from that perspective. Getting to travel by BART, we had a BART stop, which is Bay Area Rapid Transit. The transit system went under the Bay. I could get into San Francisco, Berkeley, explore all those areas. And so I started writing music reviews, actually, when I was about a sophomore, junior year of college. And I loved going to these shows so much that it compelled me to write. And little did I realize that this was my future. And I picked a couple of more underground publications, weeklies, things, and they took a chance on me. You have to be persistent in the writing business, but I felt very fortunate that they did. And then I realized St. Mary's had a newspaper called The Collegian that published once a week. And my junior year, I decided, I'd like to be editor of that. And that's where I met my wife, Rosie.
No kidding.
And so, yeah, she was already working in the paper. And my senior year, I took a chance. I decided I want to be the editor of this thing. And so I applied, and I got the position. And so for the last year of college, basically, as I was falling in love with my wife, and I was still playing tennis, and I got to be the editor of the college paper, of which my wife was managing editor as well. So it was sort of a dream come true, everything really coming together.
But you weren't majoring in journalism. You were majoring in business.
Correct. I had started that, and I decided I wanted to finish that. And what's neat about a journalism career is that while those courses are very important, I certainly have a huge amount of respect. Most of my colleagues have journalism degrees. Being a journalist and being a writer is a skill set. It has some, I would say, blue-collar roots to it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a skill, it's a trait. And if you can prove that to your employer, they will take a chance on you, plus you bring another skill set, which to me is my business background. And I did a lot of work in college in marketing, and operations, strategic management, developing marketing plans, things like that, that I think have actually served me really well in terms of packaging, promoting, making sure that people in the community are seeing the stories that I do and thinking about why they matter to people, putting them in context and why they're relevant for our readers now. So, yeah.
When did you come to Bremerton, Josh? When did you and Rosie arrive here?
Yeah, so we actually moved to the north end.
And where's Rosie's home?
I apologize.
Where'd she come from?
So she actually went to high school in Japan. Her parents, Woody and Cindy, were international school teachers. Cool. So they retired from that a few years ago, and they still live in Kitsap County. And but we came here actually straight away from St. Mary's. Now, my family has been coming to Puget Sound because my grandfather actually did a lot of work in patent law, and so he brought us up to the Puget Sound area, so I had always loved it. And as I got to know Rosie, she told me I happened to be originally from Puget Sound. That's where her parents' sort of home base was while they were teaching overseas and with her. And so when we came back here, they let us stay for a little while, and they had a little mother-in-law apartment that we could use for the first 3 or 4 months, and then we ultimately rented from them after that for the first few years. So that was in 2003. I got the job at the North Kitsap Herald in 2003, covered sports and education for them. And then in 2005, the police and courts reporter job opened at the Kitsap Sun. And I've been here ever since.
Since 2005, so
correct, yeah.
12, 13 years now.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Josh, you have done so much for building community in Bremerton, encouraging people your age to get involved. And one of those is through StoryWalk.
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous idea. Tell us the whole concept of StoryWalk and how you got that started.
Sure. So a few years ago, what I really feel like, first of all, we are obviously at a time of immense change within the newspaper industry. It's almost a misnomer to even call it the newspaper industry, right?
Right.
Given all the things that we do online,
major changes,
blogging, doing video. So I started to think about the possibilities of going to that next level, and this is a time of experimentation in journalism. So I thought about those people that sometimes I hear from after stories who would say, what about this and what about that? And as reporters, we put a lot more into a story that gets published. A great journalism professor taught me that it's like an iceberg in some sense. What you ultimately tell your readership is the iceberg that's above the water, but there's all this stuff below, right? So you hear from some people who want more than just the story, who want to know those little nitty-gritty details that sometimes we don't get to tell them in print,
right,
with limited space.
Right.
So I started to think, what if there was a way we could actually take people to the story? And
cool.
yeah, and so I thought of, I was thinking about what should we call this thing, and I ultimately rested on StoryWalk, a way that I could bring even the sources that I interviewed in the stories, if they'd be willing to come back. If there was a location with a story, maybe a new park or a street project, or even something more serious, the Kitsap County Coroner's Office, an aircraft carrier. In March, we took 100 people on board the USS Nimitz. That's an experience
That's huge.
that they'll never forget.
Yeah.
So I always like it to be in context with what we're writing about, so it's relevant to what people are reading about, seeing in their within the newspaper or within any of the content that we produce. But in January of January 2015, I believe, we started StoryWalks, and the initial one was the Veneta street trees that you see up off of Veneta between 4th and 5th Streets. They're these gorgeous trees. We don't know how they got there. Could have been a little birdie that came by with a seed from somewhere, but they're Sequoia gigantus, or sequoia trees, and they're gorgeous. And for some people, they are that, hey, I'm back in Bremerton. You see them from the ferry. You see them from a lot of different points, almost like Mount Rainier, almost on a local example. And so we took people out there. I brought an arborist with us that I had quoted from the paper to talk more about them. There's obviously an issue in the newspaper because, frankly, they are tearing up the roadway underneath. So our civic leaders are going to have to someday decide what goes, the road or the trees. So far, most people seem to think the trees should stick around. They are beautiful and decades old, certainly. Who knows how old they truly are. But that was the first one, and I showed up to the park thinking maybe we'll have a few dozen, and I think around 70 people showed up. So from there, it was pedal to the metal as far as I was concerned. If this was something people were interested in, just put with the story or with the video or the online content that would run. Hey, come on by on a Saturday afternoon. We'd love to take you deeper with the information that I could provide, and I think it's resonated, and I am absolutely overjoyed that it has been as successful as it has, because it makes me really happy that we have people who are that engaged and want to go to that level. So if it works and my editors are happy about it and the community's happy about it, to me it just makes it a win-win.
Yeah, very, very fun. Another iconic Josh Farley event is Kitsap Quiz Night, and I'm a newcomer. I've been doing it for maybe a year with my team, and but this has been going on for 7 years, Josh?
Correct. It'll be 8 in March.
This event is third Thursday.
Every third Thursday of the month.
At the Manette Saloon. And the great thing is it's open to all ages. You can bring your ringers in there that are kids and teenagers that might know the certain topic, because during quiz night, all ages are welcome. Sure. The place is packed. Yeah. And at the most, how many teams have you had?
Oh boy,
15?
Yeah, probably 15 to 20. Yeah, we once you get to about 100 people, there is just no more room, and so it has been nice. It's been fun to watch that, and quiz night was born out of actually my wife Rosie and I used to go. One of the places we fell in love in the Bay Area was Sonoma, and there's a beautiful spot, Irish pub on the square of Sonoma where they had a trivia night, and we just sort of loved doing it. It was really fun. We saw the way the community came to do it, but there's a spin on, and we have, by the way, Kitsap County has a enormous buffet of wonderful trivia nights, from Port Orchard to Paulsbo. Good. Lots and lots of fun trivia nights here in this county. My unique spin is that it comes from the news. It's a current event. So for the last 7 years now, almost 8, I devise a 21-question quiz that it basically tailors to not only international news, sports, pop culture, trivia, but also what's happening locally. And for me, it was a way to further engage people, not only for fun, but as what I do in my work. And so I've tied it together that way because, first of all, I love that people want to know more about their communities, and that's who I want to be there. So when I look out into that audience and I think about how the group of people that's out there. These, to me, are some of the people that care most about their community. And I usually say something at every quiz night about how proud I am to be in front of a group of people as invested as they are in our local community.
It is so much fun. And Josh and Rosie, because Rosie's integral as well, as your music guy that does all the...
Christopher, yes.
He is fabulous.
He does a great job too.
Some great tunes in between questions and introing Josh.
Sure.
The first round I find to be very easy because it's really fresh news, local, real simple, get you really, we got this. The second round,
Yeah.
I don't know that answer.
We got it.
And we're looking around our table. Do you know it? No, you don't. Let's guess.
You take it up a notch.
It gets really, really hard.
Sure.
But then Cuckoo Josh is leading the conga line through the Manette Saloon. Josh wears fabulous outfits, including heels that even I wouldn't put on nowadays. Those heels you had on last month, and the color of his suit. We have to plug Ish for helping you.
We should plug Ish because last month was special. Usually I stick with just the 70s style suits, but I have to say I do have a newfound respect for those who wear heels because they gave me this pair of shoes that they were about this big, and it was very difficult to walk around. So most months, though, I'm just in regular shoes. But I like the idea. A few years ago, I went as Ron Burgundy from Anchorman, a la Will Ferrell. And it stuck with me that, it's part of the charm of the event. If we're going to do all news questions, is let's play up the satire a little bit and let's have some fun with this.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
And I have to say, yes, there are conga lines sometimes. Yes, there is dancing, and that actually has grown out of the event itself.
Right.
I really didn't start that. There are people in the crowd. Christopher does such a good job at curating the music that goes for the event.
Fabulous.
That people just started to get up in between the questions and start dancing. So we embraced it, and that to me embodies what makes Kitsap Quiz Night so wonderful, is that people embraced it, and now it is completely a mind of its own.
Yeah.
It's its own thing.
Yes,
and
it is.
I do only a small part, truly, in writing the questions and just getting the night going. It is people that live in this community that really drive the bus now.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's important to my little team. We plan every month, who's going to get there. You have to get there early and get a seat, you really do. But most of the folks that are there have been doing it, a lot of them, for almost 7 years.
Absolutely.
And like I said, my team's kind of a rookie, but we have our eye on the prize because the trophy is taking on a life of its own. Every time it comes back, it's got lights on it, or it's got an appendage, or it's very, very, very cool. But there's a team that we have our eye on that we're going to take down because they win a lot.
Yeah, they do. They do win a lot. I think you're referring to McRoyskin. They do very well. And I did.
And where did these names come from? Yeah, it's kind of fun.
It's a combination of a few different last names, but I bought that trophy at Evergreen down on 4th Avenue, 4th Street, and I mean it was about yay big, and now it eclipses the Stanley Cup. And of course it's not, it maybe isn't metal like the Stanley Cup, but it has components. A lot of folks that have competed over the years work at the shipyard. Sometimes they're welders. We have people from all over that come in to compete for this thing, and when they take it home with them at the end of the night, if they are successful, and this thing just continues to grow and get bigger. And again, it's evidence of the event taking on a life of its own.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
Don't miss it if you can. If you can join a team or make up your own team, Kitsap Quiz Night at the Manette Saloon. So, Josh, let's get back to the news.
Sure.
How news is evolving and the newspaper business. Right. You've touched on that a little bit. We're going more towards video and interactive blogs. And how do you handle it, since you're huge on Facebook, many, many, many friends? So Char sends, hey, Josh, you need to take a look at this, or you get lots of tips. How do you choose, that's a really good idea. I need to expound on that.
Sure. So kind of the same way that we've been doing it for years. It used to just be in the past, somebody would call you on the phone. Woodward and Bernstein,
Yep.
a tip.
Yep.
You know, just old-fashioned reporting. You walk the streets, you get to know people in your community, and they will tell you what they feel like is a good story, and of course you and your editors can debate the merits, and if it's interesting, then you write it. Well, same thing today. It's just we have more tools at our disposal. Facebook, Craigslist, things like this, Google, have really disrupted. That's the buzzword, right? Our current news environment. But in many ways, you can view that as a liability. It's a lot to digest, or you can view it as an asset. And to me, Facebook is an asset because it has connected me with this community in a way that nothing ever has.
Exactly.
And it obviously serves the purpose of bringing to me great story ideas and a way to connect with people on that way. But it also allows me to project. And to feature the content that we do, that we're very proud of at the Kitsap Sun.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street, and it's just like any old-fashioned tool. It's just different, and in these days of social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you, so somebody gives you an idea, or maybe you're throwing something out on Facebook. I'm thinking about writing about this topic, and let's say about 80 to 85% of the comments are positive. But then we have, you know, some people in every part of the world that want to just poop all over stuff. And that is not, you know, that's stupid. Why would you ever talk about that? So, and you're always so gracious. Thank you for your input, but that's not the way I was thinking I would go. You know, how do you, kindness?
Yeah, sometimes, well, I think with social media, this is a new age. I'll be honest with you, Shar, I look at particularly children, teenagers, growing up in this era and how difficult that must be. It used to be that I did a lot of reporting with the rise in social media on bullying. And I got to tell you, you know, if I was bullied at school as a kid sometimes. You could go home at night. Can't go home anymore. So there's a lot of hardship with that. So what I try to do with social media is, you have to remember, we are living, breathing things. So we are flesh and blood, and we are constantly changing. There's nothing in this world, as far as I can tell, that is static anymore, including us. Our thoughts, our beliefs constantly change. No matter how incorrigible or how entrenched we might be with our beliefs, they are still on the move. And we do certain things. Right now, I'm enjoying a wonderful latte from Tudor Rose, and I'm very appreciative of it. But I probably have some more neurons firing from the caffeine, right? And I bring that up because maybe after happy hour, I've had a beer or two, and my thought processes are different in that time. How much sleep I've had is a factor on how we approach life. It's just now when you are out in public and when you're talking with people, what goes on social media stays on social media, by and large. So I think that one of the things we're finding through the Russian meddling from the last election, for instance, on a very large-scale level, and how they use social media to perpetrate false news articles, down to our local level, with how people say something on Facebook and, well, if you say it, it must be true, kind of a mentality. We are finding that, in my mind, it's always good to step back and take a deep breath before you respond to anything. So yes, there will be times when someone will comment on something, and just like everybody else, it drives you a bit batty. You go, you know, why does someone feel that way? Or I always exercise caution, and I try to take a deep breath, sometimes even step away and say, what am I comfortable? I always go back to, you know, your mother example, right? Would I be comfortable telling this to my mother? And if so, or if not, you know, I think it's really important to do that. And so that's my approach to it. I see no reason, I don't see any good that it comes when you get into a huge fight on social media with somebody, I look for ways of adding to the debate rather than being divisive. I think it's important, especially me in my role as a journalist. I think it's of utmost importance that, first of all, people shouldn't be bullied on my page either if they feel some way. I don't think that's acceptable. I do put my foot down when that stuff happens.
Good.
But if people have a point of view that's very different than someone else, they are allowed to express it, and that's important too.
That is important.
And I think our country really needs that right now in some ways.
I agree with you.
So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Let's get back to some truly Josh-isms, and that another one is the Beat Blast.
Oh, yes.
And how long have you been doing the Beat Blast? Not very long.
October 2015.
Oh, that's long.
Yeah.
That's almost 2 years. That's over 3 years.
Almost. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Truly, truly, truly unique. 5 top stories that Josh talks about, and just so much fun. So much fun. People don't want to miss it. You need to see it, and it's just really cool. So how does that evolve? Is that just, like, wow, how do you pick the top 5?
Sure. Well, a few years ago, Mike Burnette, who I know you know well, one of our fantastic filmmakers, videographers here in Kitsap County, came to us with an idea to do a Kitsap Minute, something of a broadcast nature that we could tell our headlines. And I volunteered. I thought it would be fun. Quite honestly, I don't think I was very good at it, and I really struggled with just talking on camera. Public speaking generally, it's one of the reasons I enjoy doing quiz night and StoryWalk, is it's actually given me an opportunity to do some public speaking, of which I was horrified about when I started this. With the Beat Blast, I came back around to that vision that Mike had, realizing that people are still moving in this direction, and it's only becoming more so. The sad reality, to me, as a classic print reader, I used to wake up in the morning and I'd read the Oregonian cover to cover. I wrote my own newspaper when I was a little kid. I mean, I just love this stuff. It's in my blood. And I'd be just fine if we put out the thickest Sunday paper every day for time immemorial. I would love that, but that's not reality now.
Right.
Reality is that young people, particularly, are getting their news from different sources. It's not, if we continue down a path of giving news where people are not staying for their news coverage, we're not going to survive very long.
Yep.
We got to go where people are.
Bingo.
And so,
and it's quick. People, especially younger people, they want information. They want it quick.
Right, absolutely. So in October 2015, I went down to our basement. I said, I'm going to do this. I got out. The Kitsap Sun has a great JVC camera. I set it up in the basement, and I thought, I'm going to go through quickly. I thought, for some reason, hey, you can count them on your fingers, 5 stories. That would be a nice round number for people once a week. And I filmed this. I put it together, and then I went back upstairs. It was in our, unfortunately now we don't print our paper in Bremerton anymore. That has consolidated as well, so it's printed over in on the east side. And so I have this big empty basement where even if I screw up a whole bunch of times, big deal. I can get away with it. I showed it to David Nelson, my editor, and I'm very thankful. He said, you know what, go for this. This would be fun. Let's give it a try and let's let it keep going. It has a sponsor now, and I have. It obviously takes more production than that. If you ever watch that original episode, again, it's not very good. But I'd like to think that we've come a long way, and that what we're doing is something that is really relevant, upbeat, and gives people in this area information. They hear so much about. Not to take away from any of our broadcast stations in Seattle, but a lot of their news coverage is focused on traffic, on trauma, on weather, on situations that are, frankly, we all relate, we can all say that is, in many ways, a lot of bad news. And sometimes when they come over here, there's a few feel-good stories they do, but we have a lot of amazing things going on in our community. My idea was not to shun and not avoid those tough stories. I still do those, but also to highlight the things that are happening in the community. And to me, it's been a joy to create and cultivate.
Really, really cool. Josh, you wear a Fitbit.
I do.
How many miles do you log a day?
I try to hit 15,000 steps every day.
15,000 steps.
So yeah.
Because you see Josh on his bike, you see him walking. He's truly visible in the community. He did tell us that him and Rosie do own a vehicle, but it's rare that you use it, I bet.
Yeah. When we have to go out of town, I will typically try to, this also informs me as a reporter, I will typically try to get around somewhere on foot. You see so much of your town, your community. Bremerton has a classic gridded town. I've always been drawn to that in this city, and so I love basically getting out on foot. And I can't tell you how many stories I've found, people I've run into, things that I've seen that have generated stories in the Kitsap Sun simply by walking.
Walking around.
A month ago, I walked all the way to the Knollwood neighborhood. I grossly underestimated how long it was to get up there.
Yeah,
but
that's a hike.
But you know how much I did along the way? I checked out the new sports bar on Kitsap Way. Stopped by where they're building the Jack in the Box by Winco.
Cool.
I see so much, and that it actually becomes valuable. I'll take public transit. I'll take the foot ferry. You meet people there. You see what they see, and not to take away from driving, because you get that as well. But to me, using your own 2 feet, perhaps a bike, is a way to see your community in a different way, and I think that it's benefited my reporting.
Cool. Yeah. Wow.
So.
Gosh, we're almost out of time. Josh, we've got just a couple minutes before we wrap up.
Sure.
What's the most, we've got a new regime we've got a new mayor coming into Bremerton. We have some new council folks. Excited about that, excited about new ideas, new opinions, new leadership.
Sure.
What's important for Bremerton? What do you see as really, really important for our community in the next couple of years?
Sure. So I think the single greatest story, perhaps of this decade, is affordable housing and the housing crisis that currently Kitsap County and really Bremerton finds itself in. Essentially, you have a growing Navy presence, a shipyard that's about 14,000 people now, 2 carriers in town, to go with a red-hot Seattle economy, Puget Sound sector, increasing Silicon Valley type jobs coming in, and we're all feeling the pressure from that. Bremerton used to be a place where you could find a place to rent pretty cheaply. It is not that way anymore, and it was like a switch flipped when that happened. Exactly. So to me, we've seen people fall into homelessness who are fully employed and we just ran a great homeless series. I hope people saw it, a homelessness series in the Kitsap Sun. But we're seeing a tremendous amount of pressure here. How our new mayor, Greg Wheeler, and how the new council, of which we have not met everybody. There is one council member that will be appointed by the council to serve out Mayor-elect Wheeler's seat. How they face those challenges, I think, is of the critical importance. How we maintain our roads and our police force, fire department, parks department, but also looking at ways to innovate, looking at ways to make sure that as the community that we've always had here in Bremerton, of all income levels, of great diversity. There's no place in Kitsap County like Bremerton in terms of its diversity. We are a culturally rich city, and we don't want to lose that. But we have a lot of people coming here. We have a lot of people moving here, and how all of those elements are ultimately incorporated into our social fabric is the test of this new administration and the council.
Right. Great point. Great point. Josh, thank you. Gosh, we're out of time. Josh and I could talk for probably an hour.
I think we could. I think we easily could, Char. Yeah.
Josh, I cherish our friendship. I think you are one of the very best people in our community. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
And also I want to thank our BCAT viewers for staying with me for 15 years as I did this job I loved, because I get to talk to fabulous people like Josh.
Yes.
And I will see you soon when I return to BCAT as Char Q Citizen. And thanks for joining us on Inside Bremerton.